You're listening to 90.9 FM WIRQ, Irondequoit's home for new music and great classics. All music aside, happy Wednesday, March 4th, 2015, and this installment of Cuse in the Morning. As you are listening live on the radio, or you're watching this maybe later today or whenever it comes out on the podcast, different camera view, and a lot easier instead of me turning this way. But, hey, it works. So, it's been a little over a week since I got back on from the last episode, and things have been stirring up in sports. Last night, the official spring training began yesterday between the Giants and the Athletics. The Athletics won 9-4 over San Francisco, and that was I watched the highlights, and it was an extraordinary game that bringing everything back into baseball. Baseball's back officially now. The games, half of the league I believe starts today, and then the other half starts tomorrow. No. Okay, no. The Phillies game's on tonight. I'm sorry. The Phillies game's on tonight, and then half the league starts Thursday, and then the rest of the half starts Friday, and then everyone's in the mix throughout the weekend, and then throughout the rest of March, and then April 8th, or a couple days before, I believe. I'm getting April 4th or April 8th, one of those 2 days. It's opening day, and that means spring is coming. And it's a warmer day today, 36 degrees, I think. That's what I saw when I woke up. So it's a warmer day, and I hope for the best, I guess. Spring is in when? The 21st? So a lot of dates coming up. And speaking of dates, with big dates coming up, it is the month of March, and that means we are officially, not officially yet, I guess. March Madness is coming up, and I have finally come to a conclusion of what I'll do with the bracket. Instead of spending an episode and half an hour to 45 minutes of filling out a bracket, which is really boring, especially people who are actually listening on the radio right now, listening to my voice, you can't really see what I'm doing. So I'm going to fill out the entire bracket except the Final Four. And what I'll do, I'll put out the Final Four on the show, and I'll pick my Final Four there. And I said last week I'm going to announce my pick for the March Madness, and I will announce it at the end of the show. Plus, I have an announcement that's not sports-related, I guess. People who watch the podcast know what I'm talking about, or I've been hyping it. So, anyways, yeah, baseball's coming back. I watched part of the race for NASCAR on Sunday, and I heard Jimmy Johnson won as at California, and my driver Jeff Gordon spun out and crashed, so I was like, I'm done watching. So, but a lot of things were going on last night, at least. Some college basketball for sure, trying to get the last few games in before the tournament begins. Iowa beat Indiana 77-63. Georgetown, unranked, beat 21 Butler 60-54. Maryland, finally making the top 10, beat Rutgers 60-50. North Carolina beat Georgia Tech 81-49, and number one Kentucky improves their undefeated streak this season, 72-64 over Georgia. And Kansas defeated West Virginia in overtime, 76-69, and Villanova defeated Creighton 76-72. So the spots are becoming official now in the tournament now, the ranks. And again, that at the point, it doesn't really mean a lot in the tournament, because if you lose, you're done anyways. Everyone plays the same amount of games that advances on. So, again, I'll announce my pick at the end of the show, and I'll get a lot of hate for it, a lot of why did you pick this, but oh well. So, NBA, some more basketball for you. Hawks beat the Rockets 104-96. Cavaliers beat the Celtics 110-79. I have something to say about the Cavaliers after I'm done with the scores here. Bulls beat the Wizards 97-92. And the Jazz beat the Grizzlies 93-82. Those are the big games that ESPN thought were worthy of the app or the website, which I don't have up. Sorry. But anyways, the Cavaliers. A couple days ago, I was reading it, and LeBron was in a post-game interview in the locker room, and he was talking about his health and how he was maintaining his health more and eating healthier. And he made a joke remarking McDonald's and saying that he doesn't eat as much McDonald's anymore. Red flag, because for those who don't know or haven't seen the commercials in the last few years, LeBron James is heavily sponsored by McDonald's. And I mean, they pay him millions of dollars in sponsorships for LeBron James, and he just said that McDonald's food is bad. So that's a red flag. And he immediately, in a follow-up question, if I were LeBron, I'd be thanking the reporter for asking the follow-up question about McDonald's. I think the reporter realized that he's sponsored by him, and he's like, when was the last time you ate McDonald's? And LeBron was like, every day, every day, every day. He said that 6 times, and every day, and they said he had an Egg McMuffin this morning during that day. And I found that hilarious, because how are you going to forget that your sponsor that pays you almost as much as your team guarantees a contract towards you, sponsors you millions of dollars? How do you forget and badmouth the people who sponsor you? That's an oops on LeBron James' part. But I haven't heard anything that McDonald's said anything about that. I mean, I bet they're like, all right, I see how it is. Maybe they'll make the last time they saw a Cavaliers game, they'll make a joke about that in the commercial coming up. But who knows? But I found that really funny. NBA starting to pick up pace. We're about a month away from the playoffs, or from the regular season coming to an end. So that should be interesting to watch. I tend to watch NBA towards the postseason anyways, because it's less to follow. I'm not an NBA fan. I'm not really a basketball guy, but like March Madness is fun to watch, because that's when the regular season in basketball, I feel like it means nothing, especially in college basketball. To them, I feel like it's just like preseason for them, and all you gotta do is make the top 25, and then, I mean, it's harder, it's easier said than done, but make the top 25, and then you're in the bracket, or even not even that. I don't even think, how many teams are in the tournament? 50, or there's a lot more than 25. So whatever, play in the bracket, and that's really all that matters, I guess. That's when the championship comes into play. But again, playoffs are coming up for many sports, many winter sports. Speaking of winter sports, hockey. A lot of big games were on last night. I was scrolling through before I started the show, and I have them right here. Predators are on a struggle, and I know that is not good, because they're on a two games. May not be a big loss, losing streak, but it's to 2 teams who are going to be in the playoffs for sure and are a big threat. The Predators lost the Rangers 4-1, I believe, 2 days ago on Monday, and they lost to the Devils last night 3-1. So Devils are red hot. Get it? The Rangers are red hot, and both playoff contending teams. All 3 of them are playoff contending teams, and Predators being shut down by the Devils and the Rangers. I guess that's not really, I don't know. I'd call it a red flag. A little, not really. Actually, no, I wouldn't call it a red flag. I'd call it something to be worried about, because come playoff time, if you're, maybe they were both road games, so maybe, I don't know. Be concerned. Moving on. Stars upset the Islanders 3-2 in overtime. Those are really the 2 big games that were at least worth announcing. I mean, big teams like Penguins and Rangers didn't play last night either. So I'm not even going to mention the Sabres, because they're definitely out. They have, 15, 16 wins in the entire season out of, 30 losses? Or 20? I don't know. It's bad. So, no more Sabres unless they're going to magically... I don't know. No Sabres. I don't even know what I was going at. But I guess I'll talk about another Buffalo team. Yeah, I'm liking the transitions I'm doing. I'm sorry if I'm going all over the place. I always do that. So, from one sport to another, but it's in the same city, so it's somewhat relevant. Buffalo Bills. The Bills got a huge trade last night. A ginormous trade that I was scrolling through my Facebook feed and I had to double take and go, what? Because the Philadelphia Eagles traded running back LaShawn McCoy, who was, I think he led the league in rushing? No, it was him and DeMarco Murray that led the league in rushing. I think it was Murray. In the top 3 at least in rushing this past season, LaShawn McCoy traded to the Buffalo Bills for Kiko Alonso, who was the rookie linebacker for Buffalo, who was a great linebacker. But everyone is saying the Eagles are the biggest slap in the face they could ever do to themselves, and I agree. Why would you give up your top running back, who wasn't even concerned to leave the team, when you're more concerned about losing your quarterback? You trade away your running back to a team, by the way, your quarterback might even go to, for a linebacker you don't need. The Eagles' defense isn't the issue. It's not the line that's the issue. It's the secondary, because they're doing all the wrong things. They're releasing top players, maybe because they can't afford them, but then they're picking up players that they don't need, like Kiko Alonso. He's a great player, but he doesn't need to be on the Philadelphia Eagles. It's not a team he needs to be on. But again, that's good for him. He'll get more playing time. He'll get playing time. He had playing time in Buffalo. What am I saying? But it's a win-lose situation, because a great player Alonso is, and a great player in his position, it's not what the Philadelphia Eagles need. And they threw away something that they needed, that they had that they needed, and then they threw it away. Does that make sense? It's like I'll put an analogy, you have an apple, and you really need to eat it, but then you throw it away. I don't know. But, so McCoy is the running back for the Bills. CJ Spiller was left in the dark now, because he was interviewed about it and was asked about it, and he's like, well, the front offices said they were going with McCoy, and they thanked me for my services. You're still a part of the team. I don't think for much longer, but he's still a part of the Bills as of today. So, but speaking of quarterbacks going to, like I said earlier, the quarterback for Philly going to possibly Buffalo, Mark Sanchez, who filled in for the injured Nick Foles in the second half of the season, could be going to Buffalo to reunite with Rex Ryan, which, if Mark Sanchez goes to Buffalo with LaShawn McCoy now, Buffalo is a playoff contender, and I believe it. So, be prepared. Many teams in the AFC East, like the defending Super Bowl champions New England Patriots, which I cringe, but I'm getting over it. But anyways, so that's really all I'll talk about for football. Nothing really big else happened. I was coming to the show thinking on Monday, I'm like, all right, I'm not going to talk about football for once because nothing's happening, but doesn't fail. Big trade. I had to announce it. I had to bring it up. So, but moving on to what I was mentioning earlier with winter sports coming to an end, coming to the playoff form, and spring sports starting to begin, such as baseball, it gives a little hope as that the snow is going to go away and everything is all peachy keen. So, I think the Phillies have a game tonight, I believe. I think the Phillies play I don't know who they play. I'm thinking it's the Rays, but I'm thinking I'm wrong. I think I'm way off. I know the Phillies play because I was looking at the MLB schedule last week, and it said the Phillies had a single game, and it was today. And then I was like, okay. So maybe it's either today or it's tomorrow. I don't know. It's giving me a headache now. But anyways, I'm going to take a break. You're listening to Cuse in the Morning on 90.9 FM WIRQ. So, what should I play for you guys? All right. I'll play you guys some Breaking Benjamin on 90.9 FM WIRQ. Here is Without Me. And by the way, Breaking Benjamin was great live, and I'm going to keep mentioning it because if you didn't go to that concert, you should have. Shame on you. But I'll be right back. You're listening to 90.9 FM WIRQ, Irondequoit's home for new music and great classics. Welcome back to Cuse in the Morning, the podcast. And episode what? We're in double digits by now, but the podcast, it's in its like 4th or 5th episode. So, we'll go off that. So, I was looking through ESPN throughout the break, and I hit the MLB button, and there was a lot more that happened than the Athletics and the Giants game, because silly me, I only look at what is on the main page, and they only like to pick very few scorers. So I'm about to read to you all the scores in MLB. The reason because baseball is back. The reason I don't do that because all the hockey scores, the NBA scores, because they're in midseason, and it really at the point doesn't really matter as much. So it's the first game that everybody's back since the World Series. So not everybody, but a lot more than just two teams. So I will read to you what happened yesterday. Boston played 2 games, and it was against 2 college teams. I didn't know they played college teams in spring training. The Red Sox, they played 2 college teams, and they won both games. Orioles played the Tigers, and the Tigers dominated the Orioles 15-2. Yankees played the Phillies, and it ended in a 5-5 tie because what's the point of extra innings in spring training? The Marlins played as well. They also played a college team, which was Miami. Marlins won. Pirates played the Blue Jays 8-7. Pirates beat the Blue Jays 8-7. The Athletics game, like I said, the A's beat the Giants 9-4, and the Reds dominated the Indians 10-0. And also, Diamondbacks played a college team as well. Arizona winning over that team. So, or was it a minor league team? Anyways, baseball is coming back, and I was reading also there was a little incident with the Mets and how rookie pitcher, is he a rookie? Second year? Oh my goodness. I'm a Mets fan, I should know this. Anyways, Noah Syndergaard, a new pitcher, very relatively new player of the New York Mets, who is looking to get a spot in the rotation this season, which I believe he will, was in a little altercation with closing pitcher Bobby Parnell, who's been a Met for years, and everyone knows third baseman David Wright. So there was an altercation with food, and the tabloids were calling it a food fight or whatever. It was a little, I guess, childish of what Syndergaard was doing, and I didn't get to read the entire story, but something with food and how he thought it was okay to grab something to eat during practice, and they kind of called him out on it, those two players, Wright and Parnell. So there was an altercation there, and it got pretty popular throughout ESPN, and it was like the first thing I saw when it came to baseball. So things are clearing up now, and it's just a way, I guess, they're looking out for each other, which is, honestly, why would you go, if I'm understanding it right, if you're going mid-practice or mid-whatever to go get something to eat? I don't know. Maybe you were really hungry, but that's nonetheless of that. But anyways, March is a big month for sports. Spring training comes back. March Madness, and that leads to my March Madness pick. I'm going to do the Final Four. I will know this week when the brackets come out, the official date. I know I've been kind of pondering on when I'll know when, blah, 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 but I just never really got to it. Part of me because I'm lazy. So, I've had my pick for a few weeks now. I'm going with Duke. Duke is my pick to win it all. The reason is because they are still the dominant team that they were last season, the season before. Because Kentucky is number 1, yes, they are a great team, but I believe that number 1 team doesn't always go all the way to win it all, especially when it comes to the bracket. It's a big, I guess, game changer. A lot of teams play harder than they usually do in the regular season, and obviously that number 1 seed thinks they're better than everybody, but they don't expect, like a few years ago, that VCU is upcoming and surprising and beating a few teams that are ranked. And VCU was unranked, and now they're a big thing now after that. But I believe that Duke's going to win it all, and that'll be my pick in the bracket. But the Final Four, I will do. I don't know that yet, and I'll figure that out on the show. I will have the Final Four organized on the show, like I said, and it leads to my announcement. Other than that's not sports, taking that for a second. Moving, I guess, a little bit about me. I've been a huge guy into music, and the reason why I do all this, and the reason why sometimes you guys hear me DJing for different music. I'm also doing an acoustic piece with my friend Dylan, who is a really close friend of me, and we have a show very, very soon, and it should be announced where it is and when it is. We will know that very, very soon. But that is another part that, besides this, that I love doing, is another thing I love doing, which is music. So that is my big announcement. I teased it on Facebook, and people on the radio have no idea what I'm talking about because I never teased it at all. But yeah, that's a little tidbit for those listening on the radio. But on the podcast or watching, if you watched all the way through, which I really hope you did, shout outs to you. But yeah, that's what I'm doing. So, anyways, back to the task at hand of sports. There's a little PSA, a little recap. What do I call it a PSA? I don't know. I think public service announcements are really cool to say. It makes me feel important. But really, a recap of what I've talked about. Talked about hockey scores and how hockey and NBA and college basketball is going forward within the season, and playoff times are coming, which is very exciting to watch. And also, I picked Duke to win it all in the bracket in the March Madness tournament, and which I'm very excited to fill out my Final Four, which I will in coming up weeks. Also, I talked about how baseball and how spring training has officially begun, and I am excited, even though there's still snow on the ground and it bothers me. Also talked about how the Bills made a key trade in getting LaShawn McCoy. He'll be a big factor coming this season, so be prepared, Buffalo fans. As much you thought you were digging yourself in a deeper, deeper hole, you kind of saw the light for a little bit, and you picked up a great running back. Kudos to taking advantage in a team that was being really stupid. But hey, that's the way business works, I guess. Taking advantage of others who don't see the bigger picture. So, anyways, until next week, I am Mike, and this is Cuse in the Morning for the episode of March 4th, 2015. I just forgot the date, and I had to look at it. Anyways, I will hear from all of you next week, or probably later this week, because I'll be DJing like always. But this Cuse in the Morning will be back next week, and hopefully the episode of the podcast will be up today, if not tomorrow, whenever it gets up. Anyways, until then, I will see you next week. See ya.